Welcome to Lambda class. In today's video, we'll talk about assignments in Clojure. In Clojure, there are two kinds of assignments. One is for value and the other for function. Let's take a look at the one for value. The built-in macro is def. I believe this is abbreviation of define, for sure, and it defines a value into a variable on a top level. Top level means in the namespace we can make a reference to f from anywhere. So we can say a has a value of 1 in the scratch.core namespace, and we can compile it, yes. And if we can check a in the REPL, then it returns 1. So this is the most basic way. The second one is assignment for function. And we have a different macro called define. And let's define a function that takes one argument and returns the argument plus number 1. The syntax must be a little different because unlike value, function has arguments that needed to be received from the user or caller of the function. So it is in the square bracket, and we can use any type of symbol that represents the argument. And we are, in this function, we're expecting only one argument, so we can say x. And we can return x plus 1. By the way, this notation is prefix notation. So if you are wondering about the difference and implication of prefix notation, please refer to another video that is about prefix notation. So this is the basic form of define macro, and this is the way that we assign a function to a function name symbol. But there's one thing that may be interesting to someone who is coming from other family of language, such as algol family of languages, including C, C++, Java. There's no return key here. Let me explain. This is functional language, so most of the functional languages return the last statement inside the function body. It returns as a result of the function. So we can say there could be something else, such as, I know this is a very weird example. There's 1, there are 2, there are 3, but those are not returned. They can do something internal. Or we can say, print something. They can be executed internally when the function is run, but those values, the returned value of the println is not returned. What is returned as the value of add1 function is the very last expression, which is x1, addition of x and 1. So so this is assigned inside the namespace named scratch.core. And let us test it here. Add 1, and we can pass 3, then it returns 4. These two are the most basic way to assign a values and functions. But for functions, there is another way. This is a little more advanced topic that we will cover in some later videos, but let me show you here so that it could inform people who are interested in like anonymous function or lambda function. However, if you are not fully understanding at this point, please do not worry, because we will cover anonymous function and lambda function later on again. So basically in functional language, actually these days most of these languages out there right now treat function as an object. So function can be passed and function can be declared like a value even without an assignment. And we call it anonymous function or lambda function in Clojure and also in other programming languages. The macro for that is fn. It is different from defn, and also it doesn't expect any symbol for the name of the function, like add one here, because this is anonymous function, and we can say x is returning addition of x and 1. So this is a function itself, but it is not assigned. Well, because this is function, we can use it just as is, such as if we give 7, then it returns 8. So we are using the function itself without assigning it to any type of symbol in the namespace. But likewise, we can assign this anonymous function to a symbol inside this namespace. And for that, because we are treating it like a value, we just say def, not defn. You can say add 1 v, something like that. Well, not exactly v, but I can say f. Okay. In this sense, inside scratch.core namespace, there is a function that existing called add-1-f. Let me test it. Add 1f. And if we give 3, it returns 4 as well. So for regular cases, just regular defn macro might look simpler and easier, and even shorter, I would say, in terms of number of codes, like length of codes. But in some instance, we want to create function inside a certain process, or we want to use a function just one time, then many times we don't want to assign it to a top level of the namespace. There might be different use cases for this lambda function or anonymous function here, like this. For instance, we can say if this is one of the long process, then we can create a function and bind it to a local variable, not the top level variable or global variable, and we assign it to f, and the value is like v is 123, and we can say, oh, we dynamically defined a function, and we want to use it only for here but nowhere else. And then we can say, oh, we can run a function here by giving a value 123 that is also dynamically declared inside this process, and then we can run, and that will give us 124 by the definition of this function and the value. And then this function will be forgotten because we didn't assign it to the namespace on top level. So this is like we can say one-time use. All right, so this is for today's video, and if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment box of the video page, and thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.